to Build with Kepler podcast, hosted by yours truly, Kepler Signal. On this podcast, we build tech, businesses, and cities. So for this episode, we're back with our Pomodoro timer. We've built the app. So this is our design page that we use for reference as we're building. This is our code. I'll be going over it, but before that, we'll run the app so we can see what it looks like and how it functions, and I'll go over the structure and what it does in depth. I will look through the code with you guys and the XMLs so you guys can understand the views and why I built it the way I built it and some lessons I've learned along the way. So currently we're just installed it on our emulator. So we're just waiting for it to load. So when a user first downloads the app, we'll send them a little dialogue explaining kind of like what is a Pomodoro. So this is just a Wikipedia link in a little article from Wikipedia so that they can figure it out. They can click on the link, and we also we tell them how to use it. Since we don't have numbers and we are a minimalist, so we don't even have buttons on display at first. So we wanted to make sure that they know that once they tap the screen, they'll be able to actually click on a pause or stop button. So when they press OK, this will be the last time they see this notification, or this dialogue actually. We also have the settings option. So for this, they're able to change the work time, the short break, the long break, and the cycles. So as of Friday, December 3rd, we've only built the work time in the short break. The long break and the cycles are not actually part of the current version of the app. So that's whenever they want to change it, and they'll press update or they can cancel. So when they actually want to use it, they'll start by pressing the play button, and they'll be presented with the work screen. And this work screen by default will take 25 minutes. They'll be seeing this for 25 minutes. And you guys can see slightly the little white line maybe. So because it takes 25 minutes for it to load, it'll take a while for us to actually see it. So yes, it will take 25 minutes for it to slide and turn into white. So currently, if we want to pause, we'll tap the screen and it will see the pause button and we can press it. And after 3 seconds, it will fade away. So if we want to resume, we press the play button and it'll resume, and in 25 minutes, the screen will have turned white. And after it has turned white, it will go to the break screen, which will be white. That will turn green in 5 minutes. So now we'll just stop it for now. So with a little dialogue for the user if they're really sure they want to exit. So we do want to exit, so we press yes, and we're back to the home screen of the app. So the app is built into two activities. We have our main activity and our timer activity. So our main activity, I'll pull up the actual XML file so you guys, the layout, so you guys can kind of understand how we lay it out. So it's simple. We have a text view for the app name. We have the play button that's clickable, and we have the settings button. So it's very simple for the main activity. And so we start with, we initialize. These are for the user's preferences when it comes to work, how long they want to work, how long they want the breaks to be, how long they want the pauses to be. And this string is called first time. That is for us to keep track if this is the first time the user has used the app. This is so we can show them that dialogue where it explains what the app does and how it functions. So we initialize our shared preferences because that's how we're able to save that information in the app. and we don't have to use database, or we don't have to use the internet database to keep track of that. We can just use, it's a feature of Android where we're allowed to keep that kind of information. So for our play button, we just call it image button for now. It opens a timer activity. Our settings button opens the show settings dialog. And we check if it's the first time the user uses the app, and if it's the first time, we'll show them the welcome dialog. So our first function here is a show welcome dialog. So it's a simple dialog. I will show the layout of dialog welcome. So the dialog is relatively simple. We have a couple text views. So text view that says welcome, and what is Pomodoro, explanation, how to use, an explanation how to use it, and a button, an OK button to close the dialog after the user has read that information. And so here we've added the dialog button OK. So what we do here is that we found it from the welcome dialog, and we said that once the user has pressed OK, then we'll dismiss the dialog, and then we'll change the preference and say that this is not the first time the user has used the app. So we put bool into the preference for first time, and we make it to false, and we apply that change. So our next function is actually to show settings dialog. So this function is actually kind of long because I was figuring out how to actually allow users to edit the work time, because I was using number picker. So with number picker, we had to set minimum values and maximum values, which is here. But we initialize it here with a work picker, pause picker, break picker, cycle picker. So that these are all for all the options. And so for all these things, we've added the minimum value 0 and the maximum value 2. And that means how many options available. So it turns out that number pickers don't take numbers. They take strings of numbers, which was kind of confusing, but it is what it is. That's how it was created. So here we set up the display value with the array of 20, 25, and 30 for work picker. And because we wanted to keep track of time, because that's the users will change the time that each thing will work. So like, for example, the work times in milliseconds, because it takes milliseconds, is 1,200,000 milliseconds. For 25 minutes is 1,500,000. So we set it up this way. So then once the user has clicked update, then what we will do is that we will then edit the work preference to what they've chosen. So once we do work picker that get value, we'll get the index, which then we will use it to fetch the milliseconds from the array. We do have to edit this so that the dialog will be dismissed on change. Okay. So this is currently what MainActivity does. Now we'll go to our timer activity, because it's a 2-activity app. It's relatively simple. So we initialize our pause button and our stop button. We declared our variables: pause button, stop button, slide layout, parent layout, our vibrator, our translate anim. And so here we initialize it, and we initialize our preference, our share preferences. We added the flag keep screen on, so that when the user is actually using the software, it won't close, so they'll see the green screen while working. So like whenever they want to make sure it's still, like how long they have left, whatever it is, or how far they are, they'll be able to actually see this. So we initialize the parent layout and the slide layout with white for parent as background color, and slide layout to be green. And I decided to do a run in UI thread. So like after 100 milliseconds that the activity is open, it will start doing the slide down animation with the green layout, like that's for working. And so we also set an on-click listener for pause button, because we want our pause button if, for instance, our drawable for this is what image is shown on the pause button is this, and this is the drawable for the play arrow. So here we get the bitmap of two of those things, of both of those things. We should change the variable names to it's kind of confusing otherwise. So we'll do this. Play arrow, we'll call this play arrow. Play arrow drawable. So now we're checking if pause button bitmap. This is just because it will make it simpler to understand what's happening. I'm just editing it a little bit. And we'll call this play arrow bitmap. So if the user clicks the pause button, and if the pause button image equals the play arrow bitmap, then that means they have to resume, and it will change the play to the pause drawable. Otherwise, we'll pause the animation and it will change the drawable to the play arrow. The stop button will show the dialog. And for the parent layout, we set it on click, so that means like when the user clicks it, that's when it will make the pause button visible. I've also created this method called visible button, pause button, and stop button. I'll explain that later. So our dialog shows simple. We just shown our dialog that asks if the user is sure they want to exit. So if they want to exit, then we finish the activity and then go back to the home screen. If they say no, then we just dismiss the dialog. This is a slide down animation. So what we did here, this is for actually when the user is working and the green layout is actually going down to show progress. This is the function for that. So what we did here is that if the layout that's sliding down is the green layout here that we check here, then we will set the animation, the duration of the animation, to be the work preference of the user decides 20, 25, or 30 minutes. And the default value is 1,500,000, which is 25 minutes. So we set the duration for that to be the work time that the user has selected if they've updated in the settings. And likewise for the pause time. So if the user has changed the preference, and the default value is 5 minutes. So we set an animation listener for translate animation. So once the animation ends, we actually vibrate so the user can know that the work time or the pause time has been reached, and they'll be doing, so if the pause time has been reached, then they'll know that they'll be doing a work cycle, just so to let them know. And once that is over, then they'll restart the slide animation, slide down animation. So we just recalled the method. And this is a code snippet I found online in Stack Overflow because I was having a lot of troubles with animation for this project. This was to help with actually having the ability to add a pause and resume feature to translate to this, to translate animation, because it doesn't have by itself that function. It wasn't built by Google with that possibility. And our last function here is visible button, which is so once the user has tapped the screen, we didn't want to keep the button visible. We wanted to, after 3 seconds of visibility, the button will go back to invisible. So that's what we did here. So like after a little delay of 3 seconds, the view would go to invisible. And this is the actual XML for activity timer. So we have the button, that's the pause button, and we have the stop button here, and then we have the actual slide layout. So that is what slides down, and it either is green or white, and when it's green we put the parent layout, so that's the background here, to white, and then when it's white we put the background to be green. And that is it really for this project. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It will be available on the Google Play Store once we've updated and actually have the cycles and the long breaks available. It'll be on the Google Play Store for 99 cents. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new today. I hope I was able to help you in your journey of software development, or if you're just interested in programming in whatever capacity that this was interesting to you. And thank you for watching, and see you next time.